Hello and welcome to another colony submission video. This is number 16 in our series, where we take a look at what you guys have been building in Timberborn and maybe get a little bit of inspiration for our own stuff and recognize some of the neat things you guys have created. This comes to us from a viewer named Michael Shockey, also known as SkiYeti666, and this is on the Peacefalls map, which is a custom map you can find on the Timberborn workshop. Of course, as you've already seen, we have an Emberpelts paradise here, and this one is called Ember Palace. So I'll read you the blurb real quick. It says, the citizens of this colony all live within the Ember Palace. It contains all the needs to survive: food, water, juice, leisure, medical facilities. And while the Emberpelts don't like to get wet, they do enjoy viewing the lakes and rivers from the terraces and campfires. Using their superior beaver intelligence, they were able to construct multiple bad tide mitigation systems. We're going to take a look at those. And built a large reservoir to keep the lakes and rivers full during bad tides and droughts. They use this subway system, made out of tubeways, to get to their destinations, including the industrial district, the forestry areas, the farming regions, and the fun park, all caps. The beavers have made use of tunneling to help water flow around the map, and to help with power distribution. The power supply uses engines and a hidden flywheel, and the Wonder of Fire is ready to launch and should maximize happiness in the colony. So, like I said, we're going to take a look at all that stuff, but we have a well-being of 65, which is, aside from the frog statue that I have installed, this user did not have installed, everything is completely maxed out points-wise, even though we have 7 of these guys that haven't gone to the detailer. And the Wonder of Fire will push that to, I believe, 75? Well, let's take a look. I've turned off fog, and I've turned off the camera limitations so we can see the entire map. Let's go all the way down, like we usually do. First 2 levels, we've got nothing going on. But now you can see on, well, level 2, which is technically the 3rd level, we have some hints at tubeways going around, and you can actually see sometimes these things activate as beavers go through them. Go up 1 more level. We've got more tubeways in different areas. So they do truly have access to a whole lot of the map using all of these things. More tubeways here. You start to see some of the water showing up as well. And we have footings for a whole bunch of different stuff that's been built up here, which is mostly storage. Of course, if you know Emberpelts, you know that they have all sorts of different juices, which you can see up here in the, well, juice category, separate from drinking water. These giant tanks hold 1,200, just like we have in normal Timberborn. And we have apple juice, beetroot radish juice, corn juice, and tomato juice available, as well as canola oil for the cooking process, and maple syrup, of course, for other cooking stuff. But you can't just drink maple syrup, and you can't just drink canola oil. Well, I mean, physically you probably could. Not a great idea. But of course we also have all these different food items represented, and most of these are around 2,600. We got a couple, like the berries here, and then the radishes that have a capacity of 1,200 aren't quite full, but suffice to say, 167 beavers. This is more than they were ever going to need. So, plenty of stuff to take care of the beavers. Of course, we do have number crunchers for you number cruncher fans out there. A nice compact industrial area. Keep going up and you'll see more and more and more things start to come into view. I do always like to show the different layers so we can get an idea how maps are laid out. But you can see right here we've got 2 ways to go kind of through this mountain area. And then, of course, here's some of the Emberpelt lodges, which, if you're not familiar with the mod, all of these that are connected not only distribute power, like normal Timberborn lodges do, but they also can share doorways. It's one of the cool things about the Emberpelts mod, is that you can have some really creative layouts. And you can see right here that these are employed very effectively so that we can have these balconies where normally, well, they won't treat them like balconies, but they look nice. Normally, you'd have to have a single path connecting to every single one of these, but because they can share walls and doors and, I don't know, crawl through the window or something, they can have a fantastic time doing whatever they want. And that's what these guys like to do. But I really like this center, like, building unit here. There's just a whole lot going on. Obviously, you have the Wonder of Fire, you have the Tribute to Ingenuity, you have the Flame of Unity, and you have the Laborer Monument, all in this very small radius. And this is, of course, where all the beavers live, so all their needs are pretty much taken care of immediately. Super convenient. Emberpelts do love fire, so we have a ton of these things. Let's peel this back a couple more layers. It basically completely encircles the middle of this. And there's not really anything going on inside of here, so I guess if you really wanted to get creative, You probably could find a couple more things to stick on the inside, but honestly, there's so much else going on here, you probably don't need to worry about it. We have a couple of inventors kind of integrated as well, which, you know, you don't really need because you have the number crunchers, but it's still nice to have, you know, beavers have a job and make sure they feel appreciated and fulfilled in their life and all that fun stuff that we like to say about kind of the role-playing aspect of this game. But it's just, everything is just really compact, nicely organized, and with a small population, you can get away with this without having to engineer some sort of crazy thing. But it still ends up looking really good. So, taking this back up, let's take a look at a few more of these areas we talked about in the very beginning. We did talk about the industrial area. Again, everything's nice and compact right here. And we do have these roofing pieces. I like this design, kind of like a traditional barn style with the hallway down the middle. Everything's just off to the side, super convenient, and it looks nice to boot. And we come on over here. There's some more storage for mining purposes. We have a badwater rig all the way down here. Of course, that seals off one of the sources and helps with, I guess, land reclamation. We've got some processing over here. We have an engine, of course, like we previously talked about, taking care of a bunch of this stuff. And right here, we've got blueberries that have been changed to be the actual color of blueberries, which is not blue. But I always do appreciate when I get to see these in this mod. Dynamite, we've got all this stuff to process, make extract again. Not a huge colony in terms of population, but everything that has been built serves a purpose. And the map looks really nice. Like, it's organized. You have all of your different crops and everything everywhere. And there's not a lot of wasted space. Like, a lot of the time when you get a large map with a small population, relatively, a lot of the map doesn't get used. But there's so many trees have been planted, so many crops have been planted, even if it's overkill for the amount of beavers you've got. The map looks lived in, and it looks good. So, continuing to go back around here, of course, like I said, we have trees everywhere. We have our mine district. We have, well, it's all one district, right? But we have all these different areas set up. And, of course, automated water pumps. Another one of the really great things about the Emberpelts mod is that you can build these things so you don't have to have beavers staffing your water pumping. You can send them off to do other things or nothing at all, as is the case with 5 of these guys right here that are currently unemployed. Or, as I like to say, fun-employed in Beaverland. And we have our little fun area over here. We talked about that in the very beginning. Nicely laid out, decorated with different types of trees that aren't necessarily serving any sort of quote-unquote useful purpose outside of just looking good. But carousel, dance hall, exercise plaza, contemplation spots, scratchers, all sorts of fun stuff. And there is a forester here, so they can be planted if they were to be cut down. I actually don't know. Are they set to be cut down? They are not. So, I guess this guy just gets to sit at the top of his little perch all day and feel like he's useful, which, you know, sometimes that's helpful. And what do we have under here? Let's peel this back. Ah, yes. More fire. You know these guys love fire. But, of course, up here we have contemplation spots. Probably going to get a little bit toasty if you have all this fire underfoot. But hey, Emberpelts like fire. We've established that. Let's talk about some badwater diversion, because now we're sitting right here. We have all of these contamination barriers. You know what that means. We peel this back. We've got badwater diversion. Of course, the sluices make it very easy. That's a base game thing. But the way the Emberpelt stuff looks, I feel like, is just so much nicer than a lot of the vanilla game. Just because of the color palette we have access to. The slightly different colored wood. Kind of looks a little bit better with the contamination barriers, in my opinion. Feel free to disagree. But, again, just very, very cleanly laid out. It almost doesn't look like it's a diversion thing just because of how nicely the colors complement each other with the red barriers on the paths and everything. But like I said, simple diversion, but it works. Clean water goes in here. Bad water comes out here if it's a bad tide, which currently it's not. The same kind of story over here right now. We have this nice clean water coming out, filling the main part of the map, flowing nicely through different areas here. But that's not the only place on the map that has done this. When, of course, this is a similar kind of setup with a little aqueduct here. We've built tons of those. Now on our main reservoir, turn on transparency. Of course, this goes pretty far down. And then we come up here where the actual water sources are. The bottom of this channel has contamination barriers in it, which probably not something I would have thought to do, but still looks pretty cool. We've got, of course, clean water comes out here, bad water comes out here. It's simple, it works, Doesn't have to be complicated, just has to work, and this seems like that would be a perfect solution for that. Similar kind of thing over here. Peel this back again, except this actually is clean water feed into this giant reservoir, and the bad water from this section here just goes right off the edge. And if we go up one more layer, this does hide the top here, but you can see this has impermeable floors, and it's raised above the ground, so there's no chance of contamination. Just really, really smart design. Of course, right here you see the actual water source. In this game, it doesn't come out all the sides if one of the side is the edge of the map, so it does have to come through here and get sorted out. Elsewhere around the map, we have, again, additional diversion, but it works. It's the simplest way to do it. And it's always, always, always the right choice. So bring this back up here. Turn this back on. It's just a really aesthetically pleasing map. And I know this is a custom one. I haven't personally played this. But again, the name of that map is called Peacefalls. And you can find that on the workshop if you'd like to build a colony on this one. Let's see. Anything else in here that I have missed? I think we've taken a look at just about everything. Except I'm remembering there's a hidden flywheel, which now I want to find. So, you know how much I love the flywheels mod? I am going to locate where this is. Because now it says hidden. It's got to be like inside a mountain or something. So let's take a look at where we have any sort of other stuff coming in here. Because there's a lot of places this probably could be hiding. So we have this engine, of course, powering all this stuff. But it's connected because the power supply is 5,500. Where's the rest of this going? Aha! Here it is. It's completely underground. Alright, so we got medium horizontal framed flywheels. I love these little quips. Like all of these, of course, this is a mod, so this is custom from our dear friend Battery Smooth, longtime channel supporter. What if we put the gears inside the flywheel? You tell me, bud. Looks pretty good to me, but obviously I haven't researched any of this other stuff besides what was used in this, and this is the medium horizontal framed flywheel. But smart to hide it inside here. It's hidden. And I didn't even notice that the power was coming up from underneath like that. Like, you would never have found this. Well, I shouldn't say you would never have found this because you made it. I would never have found it. The royal you, in this case. But two ways going into the mountain like we saw before. See, I just didn't know those flywheels. But just everything is laid out nicely. I always love looking at these and seeing what you guys come up with for the different, ways to route power and beavers and water and everything. It's just fun. So, last thing we'll do, like we typically do enjoy doing, is to set off the Wonder of Fire, fully loaded with Phoenix Essence. And in order to watch it go off, we will go into first-person mode here. And I'm going to hit pause, click launch, and then we will get ourselves a nice vantage point. You know what? I like the idea of watching from right here, kind of lined up with the center of this. So let's click there. And there you go. You see all that fire come out. The thing does rotate just a little bit. You see him right there? Then it'll do that full rotation back the other direction once that's all taken care of. It's a simple effect, but it looks cool. I always like watching these things go off. So, that just about covers it for this one. Thanks very much for submitting. I always like to see different Emberpelts designs and ideas, because I'd like to do another one of those playthroughs with them very soon. So thanks for the inspiration, and thanks for sharing with us again. If you want to see your stuff highlighted on the channel, please feel free to submit. Link is in the description. And while I can't put everybody up, I do look at all of them, and I do genuinely appreciate you sharing your ideas, your creativity, and your time with me on all of these. Of course, it's made possible by the Beard Boosters who contribute to the channel, make it possible to do fun stuff like this where we take a little bit of a break from the grind of the Water Beavers or the Iron Teeth Project 1K in our current playthroughs, and take a look at what you guys have made, get some inspiration, get some ideas, and just get to showcase some neat stuff. I think that's an important part of community, and I'm glad you guys seem to enjoy these videos as well. But that's all the time we have for this one. Really appreciate you coming out to check out what we looked at today, and I hope we'll see you back again soon for more beavers, because we've got it coming up. We got Roller Coaster Tycoon coming up, and We've got some other games as well, like I've talked about in other videos. But whatever you're doing with the rest of your day, stay safe, have fun, and we will see you later. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.